Who would have dreamed 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even 2 years ago, that we would be standing here today in this beautiful facility that's being transformed into the Kentucky Bourbon Trail Welcome Center at the Fraser Museum to ship the first bottles of bourbon ever. Anybody? I mean, this is amazing how far this industry has come in the last 10 years. This is truly a historic day that I think will be remembered for generations to come. Let me thank our 39 members working in unison to promote, protect, and elevate our signature industry and strengthen Kentucky's rightful title as the one true and authentic home for bourbon and distilled spirits. If you're a KDA member or a distillery member, please raise your hand so everybody can give you a round of applause. When I started this incredible job 11 years ago, we had 6 distilleries. Now we have 39, the most distilleries since the glorious repeal of Prohibition, and there's many more to come. We're so thrilled. Thanks to their hard work, Kentucky bourbon is more than just a drink. It is a thriving $8.5 billion economic industry that benefits all Kentuckians in every corner of the state. 17,500 good-paying jobs, $800 million in payroll, $825 million generated every year in tax revenue, and $1.2 billion in capital investment, including millions, hundreds of millions right here in Louisville on Whiskey Row. This truly is the golden age of Kentucky bourbon. The dream that our ancestors had 200 years ago is coming true. It is no longer fantasy, it is reality, and the future of Kentucky bourbon is brighter than ever. Thank you all so much.
You know, I am the representative for Nelson County, and no offense to Mayor Fisher if he's here, but we are the bourbon capital. and I'm thrilled to be able to say that and thrilled to be able to be a part of House Bill 400. I'm going to be very brief this morning. I just want to make 2 quick comments. First, I want to say a couple of thank yous. First to Eric and Brian, all the folks at KDA. You guys are wonderful to work with. Could not do this without you. Chris Nolan and your team, way to go. Thanks for all the hard work there. When you do an alcohol bill, you may not realize this, but there are 9 different stakeholders that you have to work with. Because we have the 3-tier system, and then we kind of got the 3 main branches of alcohol. And if you think Republican versus Democrat is tough, these 9 stakeholders, it's insane, all the different things going around. But I want to thank them all, because this bill was one where, you know, they were open with me with their comments. They told me what their concerns were, and literally, we came to a table. We sat at the conference room table in my office in Frankfurt, and we hammered it out. Nobody got everything they wanted. Everybody got something. Everybody had to give. And honestly, that's how you make good legislation. So thanks to all the stakeholders in all of the different alcohol industries that participated. Second thing I want to say is I just really want to make an observation. And I think Eric touched on this a little bit. I'm new to the legislature. This is the end of my first term. But when you go back and you look historically, an alcohol bill, you would get maybe 51 votes if you were lucky. These things were tough to get through. And I think it's a recognition of what Eric and this industry has done, and a recognition of the fact that we bring hundreds of thousands of people to the state. 70% of them from out of the state. That's new money coming in. We've got tens of thousands of people working in the industry that are really good jobs. 1.5 billion in record investment going on right now. And we've moved this industry from the Prohibition era of a sin industry to it is now our signature industry. And you all should be thankful for that.
But this is about business. It really is. It's about economic development. It's about how do we harness something that is an extraordinary, unique industry that we have, that we are the cradle of, and frankly the entirety of. People, I'm always laughing when I meet governors of other states who tell us their state's getting into bourbon. And I say, well, you know, real bourbon is always going to be coming from Kentucky. I don't know what you're making, but hopefully it'll taste good. I will say this. You know, it's interesting. I remember in 1990, I was stationed at Fort Knox, just down the road a little bit. And on the weekends, I used to like to go and do things. And I usually went by myself because other young soldiers usually wanted to stay and enjoy various spirits and things. And I like to go out and explore. And I remember making my way to a little place that was the first place to really think about how do we capture, if people were interested in learning about our industry, if somebody came by, what would we have to welcome them? And it was a building that was probably about as long as this is right here. And it was a single level, and it was brown and had a red roof on it. And it was the very first welcome center that had been built by Maker's Mark. And it was, I don't think there was anything else really like it at all in 1990. And it was pretty brand new at that time. It might have just opened that year. I don't remember, but it was new. And I remember they were excited about it. Who'd have thunk it? As was just noted, I mean, the last 10 years, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of percent of increase in terms of the people that are coming to learn about this, because it's about stories. Brent and I were talking about this the other day. It doesn't matter the brand, the history of these things. The stories is what people are fascinated in, the authenticity of them. This is what's missing in everything. From the political world, the economic world, and everything in between, people are hungry for something that's real, something they can invest in. And so you're gracious, Chad, to give me credit for this. Selfishly, my interest is in economic development. It really is. This is an industry that is an absolute crown jewel for Kentucky. It was noted, you've heard several different numbers, one of which I'm not sure was thrown out, but just in case it was, to reiterate it, $800 million in payroll alone. $800 million in payroll this industry generates. That number's not going down. That number is rapidly increasing. It'll cross $1 billion before we know it. It really will. All right, $825 million of revenue that is generated every single year for local and state and federal tax coffers. I know it's an industry that feels, perhaps deservedly, that it's highly taxed, and indeed, relative to many other things, it is. Fortunately, the margins are still good, because people keep doing it. That said, we don't want to take undue advantage of it. And that's one of the dangers that sometimes happens. People squeeze blood from stones to the degree that suddenly you kill the very thing that is fantastic. And here we have a good balance. We really do. These are the kind of things that encourage me. The catalyst for so much of this is inspired by this little button you see me wearing. It's a little pair of scissors cutting through red tape. This is an industry, you heard in the very outset, very opening comments about the Prohibition era regulations that had been suffocating this industry, and it's true enough. You think about it, some of these things had been on the books for decades and decades. Cutting that red tape, making it simpler for folks, old and new. There's people along this row over here who raise their hands, who've been at this for generations and generations. Others that are brand new, first generation distillers. And what I love about this industry is the camaraderie. I love the fact that people who've been at it now, second and third and fourth generations in a family, are helping people that are first generation to get their feet under them, to come alongside, because guess what? All the boats rise on this tide. And this is the way a state should operate. It's the way an economy should operate. We should be allies one with another when in fact it's not a zero-sum game. The appetite for bourbon in the world is not going down. It's still, I believe, only maybe 20% of the world's whiskey market. And whiskey, been around for a while, still pretty popular everywhere. But most of the whiskey, truth be told, it's not good whiskey. It really isn't. Some of it is good whiskey that's non-bourbon. But the reality is bourbon is a small percentage of the overall market and growing rapidly. So all this bodes well for those old and new alike. We will continue to cut red tape. It's nonsense to imagine the fact that you used to be able to come here, tour here, fall in love with a product and not be able to buy any and ship it home. Crazy. Crazy. Can you have imagined had that been the case in Napa Valley? This is becoming the Napa Valley of distilled spirits. It really is. Right here in the middle of America, in a place that is beautiful, in a place that people come and fall in love with, where the upside is far beyond what people would have imagined. It always makes me really happy when I hear people who've come here for the first time and they just gush about how they're blown away. That rather than living down sometimes, as we historically have, to people's stereotypical impressions of us, we're upside surprising people to the degree that they want to come back. And I love it when people come back, they start on the trail, and indeed, part of what we're celebrating here and why we're here is because this is where it's going to start officially. It starts here. That is the mantra, and in fact, now I believe that where did we go here? I think the license to sell here was just recently received. Wasn't it? So it really will start here now, apparently. But in all seriousness, why not? Why not? I mean, this is a product that when people are buying by the billions of dollars. $8.5 billion economic impact and growing. We wanted to start here, we wanted to continue, but what's great is people will come here for a convention, they'll come here for a meeting, they'll come down here, they'll happen to get a taste of this, all pun intended, and they'll think to themselves, I gotta come back. And people will come back and they'll do part of the trail, and now the trail isn't just in Nelson County alone and in little spots here and there. It isn't just in Marion County, it isn't just in a handful of places. It's now east and west. People are springing up all over the place. That is the whole point of all of this. So to each of you who came here, took time to get on up here from your respective corners of the state, thank you for this. Thanks for what you do to really make this everything that we're celebrating. It's a tremendous honor. In a moment we will sit here and honorarily sign this into law. I applaud Chad and other legislators and Phil, as he noted, who helped early on to get behind this and say, what can we do to find ways to make it easier for those of you who want to help our state rise to do it. We're going to continue to do these things. It's an honor for me to be one small little piece of that puzzle. Thank you so much for being here today.
The most frequently asked question that we have received for years at the Maker's Mark Distillery from our friends that have chosen to visit the distillery is, can we ship their bottle purchases to their homes? In fact, that's the #1 question at all Kentucky distilleries. And this piece of legislation is now going to allow us to tell them yes, for the very first time. This is great for Kentucky tourism because it's enriching the experience here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky and on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, putting us on par for the very first time with other destination experiences within our industry. This is great for our friends in the logistics business who will make our customers so very happy when all of these bottles arrive to their homes.
And what a historic day for two signature industries in the state of Kentucky. Logistics industry and the bourbon industry. And it really is, we've come a long way. And every day, UPS ships millions of packages from high-tech electronics to life-saving medical devices. And today, we get the pleasure of adding Kentucky spirits, Kentucky bourbon to that list of goods. Now, some will argue that maybe the life-saving health products might be Kentucky bourbon. but we'll add it to the list as well. And interestingly enough, there is some similarities between the bourbon industry and UPS. We happen to like, we both like the colors brown. We happen to like Pullman brown. They happen to like amber brown, good shades of brown. We like to say that our drivers, we pride ourselves in the fact that our drivers are neat. The bourbon industry loves the fact that people drink their bourbon neat. And more importantly, everybody knows their favorite UPS driver, and everybody knows their favorite bottle of bourbon. So what a great day for Kentucky. What a great day for the whole world, because now it is truly bourbon without borders, right? It's free to bourbon. So with that said, I'm going to call Laura up, who is our excellent driver, and we are going to make this official by putting the first bottle of bourbon into the system. So come on up, Laura.
And Representative McCoy. So, we had a little detente between Jefferson County and Nelson County until I understand you reopened it here. I inartfully said several years ago that Louisville was the bourbon capital of the world. I was quickly reprimanded by then Mayor Bill Shekels. And we had a showdown of sorts, so I see that beginning anew for us. So I look forward to that battle. But a bourbon toast at 9:30 a.m. It must be Kentucky. And so many people worked so hard to get to this point. I just want to congratulate you, Governor, the legislature, all the bipartisan work that went together back to make this happen. My gosh, this has been years in the making. To see what's taking place with urbanism around our Commonwealth and around our city. We're at the very beginning stages of what is going to really be taking off and be so beneficial to so many people. So, we have much to celebrate. Economy's booming. And with House Bill 400 becoming law, we're going to even have more reason to celebrate in the coming years. So, here's a toast. Here's to the Fraser for hosting us and many more visitors to the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. Here's to UPS for shipping these bottles of bourbon and many more to come. Nick, nice toast. Here's to the success of next week's Kentucky Bourbon Affair. And here's to the KDA, who's done a great job shepherding us through many of these issues, and our partners in Frankfurt on both sides of the aisle. This shows what's possible when good people come together for the common good of the Commonwealth. And last, most of all, here's to our great Commonwealth of Kentucky. Cheers.